The release of Humankind game got me thinking a lot about pre-orders. And there's a lot of information online about should you pre-order, shouldn't you pre-order, the pros and cons, is it bad, is it good? I'm going to particularly talk about it in relation to gaming, and I think that Humankind in particular is a great case study from being a game that was meant to release to then being delayed 4 months to then, surprise, coming out virtually for free on the Xbox Game Pass when it was just days away from its full release. Let's talk the wider context of pre-ordering in video games, the pros, the cons. Should we do it, should we not? And then delve into the Humankind game example, because I think it is, like I say, better than most. Without any further ado, my name is JumboPixel, let's jump straight in. So, for starters, why might you want to pre-order something? And in particular, why would you want to pre-order a game, a computer game, in 2021? In a world, in a time where we rely a lot less on physical copies of things and increasingly we purchase digital items. Well, I think first and foremost there are pre-order bonuses, and at least for me as a player, these are the things that I really care about. And I think you can probably quite cleanly divide them across three main categories. That's not to say that there couldn't be more, but these are the three main ones. Firstly is access, and really, let's be real, this is the biggest one where it's kind of like advantages over other players, right? You can get early access by pre-ordering. With Humankind, we saw this by a closed beta, where you had to pre-order the game, basically, to get access. This also includes other early access models like testing on Steam, alpha testing, beta testing, but also early access around launch. We often see games offer pre-order bonuses that provide players with 2 or 3 days early access. Or, of course, at the really bare bones level, if you pre-order something, you will have it available in your library or in your grubby little hands from the word go. So in theory, you do get a slight head start. The second advantage pre-order bonus has to be rewards, right? Whether it be a PDF of the tech tree, a poster, or in-game content like characters and soundboards, you name it. There's all sorts of stuff we can get in-game rewards. And finally, and to be honest, to draw on the Humankind example, the one that was most important to me, the price difference. In this case, it was a 17% discount, but we often see maybe 5, 10, perhaps 20% off for pre-orders. If you pre-order our game, developers say, we will give you a discount. Seems fair, great advantage for players. There are other arguments around positives for pre-ordering games. I won't be able to cover every single thing in this video, of course, but the other main one I'd like to touch on is supporting the developers. People often argue, I pre-ordered this game, or whatever it might be, to support the people who made it. And I can absolutely see the advantages behind that. Pre-order sales are good. It means more budget, potentially. Perhaps more marketing power or bargaining power when talking to potential advertisers, suppliers, so on and so forth. You can see it being a good thing for a game, for the development company and for the marketing company and everybody around it when they can say, hey, look, we're selling this thing already. Look how good we are. Furthermore, I imagine that must positively reaffirm the development and the developers for the game. If you see something of yours doing well, whether you've created that content or worked on it or whatever, that boosts you and incentivizes you to make more. I know that from being gracefully able to do stuff here on YouTube, and I imagine when you're making a AAA title like Humankind, that's even better still. And lastly, though, I would just sort of add to this as I move through into the negatives. You're not supporting a charity, though, and I can understand that, however, that there's sort of scales here, is what I'm saying. Indie developers may benefit from this a lot more than, say, large-scale games and developments where they already have support and backing financially from significant players. Let's move into the negatives for pre-ordering games before I then talk a little bit more about the Humankind example specifically. We like to debate this lots online. Positives, negatives, should we pre-order, shouldn't we? The negatives are fairly fast and slick. For starters, what you're buying doesn't exist yet. And that is kind of a strange premise to be buying things on. It may not exist at all. It may exist in part, but not fully. It may have started its development, but not be ready for release. Video games are a great example of this. Furthermore, speaking of video games, they have yet to be tested in the real world. This is another argument for not pre-ordering something. Sure, you may see some gameplay footage for it, but has it been tested in multiplayer, for example? This is actually a great one for Humankind. What does the multiplayer look like? Is that something that's important to you, and have you seen that tested? The same goes for any other feature within that gameplay, really. Have you seen the ins and outs of the tech tree and how it works? Will that be successful for you? Apply that to anything. If it has yet to be tested in the real world at scale and stress tested for that server-side, multiplayer demand side, can you trust it? That's a concern. Also, online with that, you also have to think about performance. Okay, so I can see some footage for this thing, this game, whatever, working well on this system. Will it work well on mine? What is the real world performance here? That's particularly impactful for players with less powerful systems. Next up, third reason is potentially tying in with that trickery with trailers and marketing. What you're seeing is likely this thing in its best version. You're not going to be being shown a version of Humankind, for example, that isn't working, a version of the software that doesn't work on your operating system. So do bear in mind that what you're pre-ordering and what you're seeing and buying into is probably the best version of that thing. Lastly, in this modern age, there is seemingly much less of a need to sort of secure your copy, right? Pre-order today or miss out, I can hear them saying. In a world where physicality doesn't matter and where digital products are much less significantly impacted by things like supply lines, like physical stock, manufacturers, physical retailers opening their stores so you can come in and get the dang thing, the size of the product launch, the size of the physical product, none of these things matter when digital distribution is key. If you're pre-ordering a digital title, you don't need to pre-order to secure your copy, because within reason, there are basically limitless copies of this thing in most cases. Now let's talk about, in the last part of this video, Humankind as an example. So, Humankind, as I said in the beginning, was scheduled for release in April of 2021. That was delayed until August of 2021, some 4 months. And whether you'd pre-ordered the game or not, didn't matter. Because of that delay, they said, okay, look, we're going to do an open beta, but we're only going to give you access if you pre-ordered it. You can pre-order it right now and gain access. You don't have to have pre-ordered months ago. So it's not about rewarding those who have sort of supplied money to us this whole time. Actually, anybody who pre-ordered could play the beta. Moving forward, they said, all right, we're going to give you a couple of avatars as well to say, hey, sorry, we're not releasing on time. All good. I personally was totally okay with that. I'm not talking down about it. You can think what you will. And now, a few days before release, it came out on the sly through Twitter that Humankind was being released on Xbox Game Pass, meaning for the low price of $1 for the first month, you can gain access to Humankind on release. For me, and again, this is the personal part of the video, as somebody who pre-ordered I was largely motivated by the price discount, the 17% off discount for my pre-order, and a little bit by the extra pre-order bonus content that I got, the Notre Dame content pack, so on and so forth. To now discover that I could get a month's worth of access to Humankind on release for $1, and then really the low price of $10 from every month thereon, plus of course not just Humankind, the Xbox Game Pass will give me access to, say, Crusader Kings 3, and Tropico, and a whole number of other games, it really did make me think, well, why did I bother? Should I have pre-ordered? Should I now cancel my pre-order? I don't know, I feel like the timing of it felt a little bit of a letdown to players who had pre-ordered all the way through. Perhaps this is a lesson in of itself, to hold back on pre-orders, to wait. At the end of the day, this is a digital item. Humankind is a digital release game just like any other, backed by not an indie development studio. These guys are big names. They've been in the industry for years and years and years. Humankind is being published by Sega, again, another big name in a big industry. Did I really need to pre-order it? And was I left feeling a little bit burnt by the fact that it's now available nearly for free, sometimes for free, on the Xbox Game Pass? I don't know how I feel about it, and I'd be really keen to hear how you feel. Do let me know in the comments below. Thank you very much for joining me in today's video, and I am very excited for the release of Humankind, don't get me wrong, and do subscribe to the channel and join me on Humankind's release journey for some live streams, gameplays, and all sorts of good fun. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you next time.